Hi guys! Welcome to another episode of Bible Q&A. Today we're discussing what was so special about Abraham. I'm about to make the most obvious statement ever on this channel. Abraham is a significant biblical figure. God made him the physical ancestor of millions of Jews, according to Genesis chapter 12 verses 2 to 3, and he would also be the spiritual ancestor of millions of sincere Christians. As Paul said, "And if ye be Christ, then ye are Abraham's seed, and heirs according to the promise." Galatians chapter 3 verse 29. However, Jehovah could have done all this with anyone. Abel, Enoch, and Noah were all righteous before him. Why then did the Lord choose him to create his new nation? What made Abraham so important? Well, the first reason Abraham was so important was that he was willing to completely change his lifestyle to fulfill God's plan. Abraham used to live in a community he was comfortable in, but when Yahweh told him to immigrate to a new land, he became a nomad. It was a completely different kind of existence, but Abraham made the transition without complaints. Compare his attitude to that of his descendants, the Israelites. In Exodus chapter 16 verse 3, less than 3 months after they left Egypt, the Israelites complained about their lack of food. They would continue complaining throughout their journey because they couldn't get used to the desert environment. And in Numbers chapter 14 verses 1 to 4, they simply gave up and tried to go to Egypt. Another reason Abraham was so outstanding was that he was very spiritually resilient. He was able to endure the physical pain of circumcision in Genesis chapter 17 verse 24, when he was 99 years old, without anesthetics. Yikes! He didn't even know why this particular procedure had to happen, but he went through it anyway. Abraham was also able to deal with the emotional pain of killing his son in Genesis chapter 22 verse 10, even though he was eventually stopped from doing so. I don't know if he'd be able to deal with Sarah's reaction though. Someone who wasn't like Abraham was King Ahaziah. In 2 Kings chapter 1 verse 2, he fell out of his palace and got sick, but instead of asking God for help, he asked Baal-zebub instead. That decision would be the end of him, because in 2 Kings chapter 1 verse 16, Elijah prophesied that he would be killed for his unfaithfulness, and sure enough, he died in the next verse. Ahaziah could have shown patience by enduring the pain and waiting for Jehovah's response, but instead he caved in and searched for a faster response from a foreign god. Finally, Abraham was so exceptional because everything he said reflected his faith. He prevented ungodly strife between his workers and Lot's workers in Genesis chapter 13 verses 8 to 9 by letting Lot pick a country to settle in. He ended up benefiting from that decision in the end. He also asked God how his promise would be fulfilled in Genesis chapter 15 verses 2 to 3 since he didn't have a child that would continue his lineage. He showed that he cared about the success of God's plan. Lastly, in Genesis chapter 24 verses 5 to 8, he told Eliezer to abandon his search for a Mesopotamian wife for Isaac if he couldn't bring her to Canaan, because the Lord told him that he and his descendants would live in Canaan, not Mesopotamia. If Isaac went to Mesopotamia to marry someone, he would be forced to set up a family there, and God would have to put in extra effort to bring his descendants back to Canaan. Of course, the reason why Abraham was adaptable, resilient, and well-spoken was that he was obedient. You can't be compliant without being a little flexible, because God always has new plans for his children. As it was said in Isaiah, "Remember ye not the former things, neither consider the things of old. Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall ye not know it? I will even make a way in the wilderness, and rivers in the desert." Isaiah chapter 43 verses 18 to 19. Also, obedience requires you to have a thick skin, because a godly life brings many challenges. As St. Paul said, "Therefore I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecutions, in distresses for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then am I strong. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 10. For example, Joseph had to face slavery, humiliation, and imprisonment to save his people from famine. Lastly, obedience requires you to use your tongue properly. As St. Peter said, "For he that will love life and see good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil, and his lips that they speak no guile." 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 10. Unlike the others, this requirement is enshrined in the Ten Commandments in Exodus chapter 20, verse 7. So if you disobey it, you're basically disregarding one of the major tenets of Christianity. Therefore, my advice is that we try to adopt these strengths of Abraham. The great thing about him was that he wasn't special because he was superhuman, or because he was rich. He didn't have superpowers, and his riches didn't matter. No, he was special because of the faith he showed in his everyday life. He was special because he obeyed God while farming, talking to neighbors, and traveling from place to place. He was special because he inspired us to be even more extraordinary than he was. And that is where I'm going to stop with this Bible Q&A. What was so special about Abraham? He was special because he could always adapt to new environments, he could always handle the challenges that came his way, and he always spoke in a way that honored his father. Thank you for listening! Don't forget to like and subscribe.